Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on Nazis changing lives of young people, men and women, boys and girls. So you've got the title there, so make sure you jot it down. How did the Nazis change the lives of young people? We're going to be describing what the ideal young person would look like and be like for Hitler and the Nazis in terms of education, the youth groups, university even, and what they learned in the curriculum. We're going to be thinking about how they were actually affected on an individual basis, and then looking at the reasons why boys were educated differently from girls. What was the real reason behind it all? Now, if we look at the image, you can see that Hitler is right at the top in the middle. In case you haven't recognised him, he's one with his arms crossed. Looks rather cross, very stern looking. You see his teacher in the middle. Now, apparently he wasn't the best student. He loved history. He wasn't really interested in much else, to be honest, finding a bit of a pain apparently as a student. And so when it comes to education, he really did surround himself with people who didn't value education in school. He really didn't like being around incredibly intelligent individuals from universities, didn't really like that. So in terms of his policies towards young people, it kind of goes back to his childhood. He didn't really like school, he wanted it to be fun. And so he's going to change a lot of the policies to how he would probably have preferred school to be. So let's get started. Hopefully you've written the title down. Okay, so look at this. Describe two main features of the education of children in Nazi Germany using these words. So pause the video and jot down some ideas of how you can use these words: idolize, indoctrinate, loyalty, propaganda, and subjects to think about the German school system. And what are you coming up with already? Pause and jot it down. Okay, so you might have had something such as Hitler idolized the youth. He wanted to indoctrinate them into his way of being, the Aryan race. He wanted them to be loyal to him, and he did this through propaganda and through the curriculum involving different subjects. So that's kind of a very quick and easy way of thinking about this. So let's have a look at exactly what happened. Okay, now let's see if you can match these up. So you've got keywords on one side, key subjects, and then you've got the ideas on the other side. So see what you think matches and jot them down. Pause the video. Okay, so let's see how you did. So weapon making and chemical warfare. Well, that is actually going to occur in science lessons. So you think about normal science lessons that you would have. Would you be making weapons? Making bombs, machinery, things like that? No, well, they are. And a lot of the children apparently loved it. A lot felt it was very strange and different, but apparently most loved it. The next one, great military victories for Germany and how badly Germany was treated at the end of World War I. Yes, that's history. So the textbooks are going to be changed, and everything that is anti-German, everything that made Germany look bad is going to be tweaked and transformed into a German victory. Or if it's not a victory, such as World War I, they're going to blame someone, use a scapegoat for it, normally the Jews. Okay, so the next one, calculate, that's a giveaway, isn't it? Calculate how much money Germany would save if they got rid of all disabled people. Yeah, you're right, it's maths. So that's a horrible one to think about, isn't it? Your tests, your GCSEs, and your end of unit tests would all be on and what would happen if we got rid of X number of disabled people, how much money would we save? That was a question. Okay, so the next one. Outline the areas in the world that Germany would soon conquer. Geography, yeah, big map, and you'd see where could we move, where could we invade, who would we invade, how many people. So you'd end up having science lessons of how you would invade and maths in terms of what would it mean to invade coming into your geography lessons as well. Okay, next one. So this particular subject trebled to keep students fit and ready for the army. Hopefully that's pretty easy, that one. It's PE, well done, because Hitler wanted to create soldiers and he wanted women to be fit and healthy to produce children. Okay, the last one, how to improve their race, the idea of the Aryan race, about Nazi beliefs and the inferiority of blacks and actually Jews and homosexuals and anyone else that they didn't feel fitted in with their ideals. That's a new topic called eugenics or race studies. Kind of, I guess the British equivalent would be PSHE, but we don't cover a lot of aspects that they certainly would do. So hopefully you've got that all matched up there. So that's the education system. That's what students are actually learning. in school. That's the curriculum. So if you ever get a subject or a topic such as this in an exam, you'd be thinking about the first paragraph really being about the curriculum, about education, and dropping these ideas in. So it's about the boys becoming soldiers, thinking through a lot of these skills logically, thinking about exactly what they can do in science and maths that would link to invasions and in policies such as that. And for girls, it's mostly about the eugenic studies and the idea of who should I be dating, who should I be with, who should I not be with, and about motherhood. So a lot of these things about fitness and motherhood fall in. Okay, make sure you've got that all written down. Now, textbooks. As you know, a lot of the textbooks are going to have to be rewritten. And so the Nazis do take in the textbooks and they rewrite things. And the book burning that you may know of, that's quite familiar to a lot of us from 1935, actually was organised by young people. Young people protested. They didn't like a lot of the books, the textbooks that were there. They didn't like any books that was written by Jews, and authors they didn't particularly like, and ideals they didn't like if they were particularly from Jews. For example, with Albert Einstein, they burnt the books, as you can see, and then other universities were copying this. And this is actually something that the Nazis were particularly proud of, and they tried to copy this policy elsewhere. Now, in terms of the types of schools this is going to happen in with this curriculum, this book burning and the changing of the textbooks, well, you've got different types of schools. So you had the National Political Education Institution, the Napolitas schools, or you had the Adolf Hitler schools that came out of the Hitler Youth Organization, which was more about intense training, academic exams, tough exercise, trying to make young people into bullies, really. Bullying was in a way encouraged, because you could then be the ideal tough Nazi. Being someone who was being bullied, that was not seen as a positive thing. You'd want to be the bully. It's a very different way of being. Okay, so these are some actual questions from the textbooks at the time. You can see some schools there, some Nazi schools with Nazi children. You can see they're very much looking quite similar. Now they're actually in their dress. So question 52. It costs an average of 4 RM a day, so 2 miles a day, to keep a cripple or a mentally ill person in hospital. There are currently 300,000 mental patients, lunatics, and so on in German hospitals. How much would the German nation save if they got rid of them? It's just horrendous, but these are the types of questions that could be in the exam. And you can read the other one there as well, question 46. So again, you need to start thinking of how you're going to put this in the exam question, about how the textbooks would change, the exams would change to cater for the Nazi ideals. So again, the students are being indoctrinated, they are being brainwashed, I guess you could say. They're being persuaded to think a certain way from a very young age, because Hitler knows that it's a 1,000-year Reich he wants to create, and the youth need to idolize him. There's that word again, idolize him. Okay, so in terms of key learning, you've got education through the curriculum, you've got the textbooks and how they're being changed, and how the exams, the questions are being pushed, very much forcibly pushed towards the Nazi ideals that people are being exposed to on a daily basis through exam questions and through the textbooks they're reading. Even the classroom, I mean, look at what the classroom looks like right there. The Nazi teacher as well having to wear the uniform. Okay. Now, universities, as I've told you before, Hitler does not particularly want people going to university. Women, definitely not. Men, not really, but he understands that a lot would. In terms of the teachers, you have to swear to be a Nazi teacher. You'd have to join the group. If you didn't, you would have to leave the profession. So in 1933-34, 15% of university lecturers or professors are replaced, a third of which are for the racial reasons, the racial policies the Nazis had, and half for political reasons, maybe they're communists. And so by 1939, over 3,000 have actually been dismissed, and these need to be replaced. They've been replaced by Nazis, replaced by the pure Aryans' ideals, what they would like to populate in terms of their ideals and their policies. Even Albert Einstein, as you can see, he left the country and his theories were thrown on the fire, and he was Jewish as well, which didn't help, unfortunately, him at that point in time. The courses, the German courses, all had to change if they were teaching things in the curriculum that were very much of a Jewish way or Jewish feeling. That had to go. If there were anything that went against the Nazi ideology, it had to go. It wasn't going with the curriculum, so it had to change, again with the textbooks and even with the professors now. All students also had to train to be soldiers for a month each year, and top university professors were handpicked by the Nazis because they needed to be Nazis. They needed to have that Nazi ideology in order to be able to teach it to the young, which they want to idolise the Nazis. It is all a continuous loop, hopefully you can see. So the Nazis don't really regard university as important, and they don't want to encourage people to go there. They want students to leave school early and go and join the army. Okay, so what really about youth groups? We've looked at in school, but now what about outside of school? Are you part of any clubs? Well, there were clubs in Germany at this point in time. Catholic clubs, all those religious clubs, they're all shut down. They don't exist anymore. And the Hitler Youth is the group for boys. So make sure you've got it very clear in your notes. The Hitler Youth is for boys, and the League of German Maidens is for girls. We've got two very different ideals here. Hitler very much said that young men and women should suffer pain because they feel real and they get stronger. He doesn't against the idea of bullying. He doesn't want what he would consider to be wimps. That was exactly what he would say. He said that women and men in particular, should be as fast as greyhounds, as tough as leather and as hard as steel. You had to be quick, you had to be fast. And in a way, you needed to have an intelligent mindset for military reasons, but not be free thinking. University, not free thinking. You need to follow the pattern, follow the regime, be a copy of each other, and be soldiers, basically. As you can see by the images with the uniform they would have to wear, it's very regimented. Some people loved it because you went on class trips, you went on holiday, you went camping, and if you were poor or if you were rich, you all wore the same. So in terms of the Hitler Youth and League of German Maidens, it was very much a level playing field for people, rich and poor. You just felt like one big family group, and it became compulsory. You had to join these groups. So by 1936, you had to join these groups. Okay. And most people would, because all of their friends are there. You go to school, you come out of school, you go to these groups. Even if your parents didn't want you to go, most of the time you still went because it was compulsory. That doesn't mean, though, that all children went. Some children slipped through the net and didn't join. So, very simple here. Hitler Youth, what's it for? Military skills. Very simple. For girls, it's mothering. So again, make sure it's in your notes. It's very, very clear. By 1933, all other youth groups are banned. By 1936, we have got the compulsory element. The law for the incorporation of the German youth gave the Hitler Youth equal status to school and home. You had to go. You are registered. You are encouraged to go. When you're forced to go, and some children really wanted to go. Okay, the uniform is there. You get to go on holiday. You get to the mates. Why would you not go? Encourage sporting facilities, competition, and it's really made fully compulsory by 1939. Okay. Now you can see at the bottom image there, one of the last images you have of Hitler. He's got Parkinson's disease at this point in time. His other hand's behind him shaking violently. And these Hitler Youth individuals are going to be the last stand against the Russians that are coming in to destroy Berlin. And Hitler's going back into his bunker. So they very much were people that definitely idolised him. They were persuaded by the propaganda posters that were around to encourage them to join the Hitler Youth, and especially when it became compulsory later on in 1936-39. And then you can see them there now, literally being soldiers, keeping Germany safe. Now, obviously, you had different groups, kind of like we've got brownies and cubs and scouts and different groups in Britain today. They had the same. So you've got the little fellows for ages 6 to 10. You've got the young Volk from 10 to 14, and you've got the Hitler Youth from age 14 to 18. So make sure you pause the video to jot those down. They meet several times a week. They go camp every month, and they learn to march. They fire, they actually have a knife, they keep it in their sock. They have a gun that they can fire, and they keep themselves fit. And you can see by the little images on the side how young these children were when they went to Hitler. Make sure you got that down. Okay, now the League of Young Girls, again, it's about fitness, but it's really about cooking, cleaning, motherhood, babies, that kind of thing. How to link the things that you've learned in eugenics with the curriculum into your League of Young Girls outside of school curriculum. And propaganda posters such as that one that you can see really encourage you to be healthy and happy. And the Nazis are encouraging women to be all of those things and hopefully to get married and produce lots of children. And you can see the membership numbers at the top corner and how much it goes up by. Again, you've got the compulsory element. Some girls did slip through the net, but it is something that some women certainly wanted to be a part of. You want to pause the video so you can read this source, and I'd like to jot down exactly what it tells you about the compulsion of people to join the Hitler Youth and League of German Invaders. How can you see these groups being as equal to school and home? So jot down some ideas. Okay, let's move on. So, do all young people support these organisations? Well, very clearly, as I've written there, no. Not all women, not all girls, not all boys did, no. Even though they've got posters such as the one in the corner, a very smiling, happy girl collecting to the Nazis. She's part of the League of German Invaders, and she's got her hair beautiful, as they would have had, as they were encouraged to have, with the braids, very traditional looking. No, some young people did purposely slip through the net. So you've got the swing group, which listened to jazz music. It was kind of a difference between active and passive aggression. They wanted to be rebellious. They wanted to play their music outside their bedroom. They wanted to listen to American music, jazz music, British music, and they didn't want to listen to the classical tones that Hitler wanted. You've got the Edelweiss pirates, who were working class boys who used to go camping. They used to very much enjoy sneaking up on the Hitler Youth in the middle of their camping and destroying their tents and their equipment, or stealing the little knives from the Hitler Youth. Unfortunately, a lot of those boys were found out. They didn't dress the way the Nazis wanted to. They had long hair. They dressed in a particularly sort of rugged fashion and didn't go to the groups and the schools that Hitler wanted. So unfortunately, a lot of them were found out by the Gestapo and killed. You've got the Droving Dudes, you've got Navas, you've got also the White Rose group as well, with Sophie and Hans Scholl, who were they actually had joined the Hitler Youth and League of German Maidens, but they didn't like what was happening with the Jews. They then went to Munich University, again breaking the mould, and they started distributing anti-Nazi leaflets and were found out and then executed. So the youth was certainly something that Hitler wanted to have under thumb, very much idolised. And when certain individuals such as this went against the system, they took it very personally, and they certainly made sure that the Gestapo were there trying to find these individuals to drive them out. They couldn't have rebellions such as this, especially with the youth. The youth were the future soldiers, the future mothers. And even today, obviously, if you had the education system that these people have had from the GCSEs and on, it would be very hard to get that mentality out of your head. And Hitler knew that. The youth are the power base for the Nazis. So let's just go back to the beginning. In terms of the question with this, you need to be thinking about in school, the curriculum, the textbooks, the teachers, university, what was happening there, after the curriculum, after all of that lot, and then thinking what are they doing outside of school, and how are these three areas different for boys and for girls, for teachers, male, female, Jews, etc. What's going on, and how does Hitler's own childhood mould that system, and Nazi ideals mould that system? And thinking again about these words here: idolize, indoctrinate, loyalty, propaganda, and subjects. So to finish, try and do that again with those words, but adding in all that extra flavour that you've got with all this extra knowledge that you've just learned. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed that. Bye.